Hi everyone! In today's video we will do another data analytics project using Python. If in the last video we looked at time series analysis, we looked at sales over time, in this video we will look at customer base analysis. If you're new to this channel, I'm Karina, I'm finance person, turned data analyst, turned data scientist, and now I share my knowledge with other people online. As always, there are timestamps in the description to this video, so you can jump ahead to the chapters you're interested in. Let's begin. As always, I found dataset at kaggle.com, link in the description. It is Netflix customer user base. As a first step, we need to import libraries. We will import pandas as PD, import Seaborn as CNS, import Matplotlib, pyplot as PLT, and import mats. So Seaborn and Matplotlib are visualization libraries. I will use two of them today. Pandas is necessary so we can read and clean our data, and mat we will do some rounding later on, so that's why we need this library. Let's run it. If you run this and you get an error that no module name of the module found, it means that the module is not installed in your environment. So first of all, you need to install that module with exclamation mark pip install and then name of the module that is missing, for example, pandas. So first of all, you run that line of code and then you need to rerun this import. Next step, we need to read our file df equals pd.read_csv brackets and then the path to our file. And let's view 5 top rows of our file with df.head brackets. So that's how our data looks like. We have user ID, which seems like a unique user ID, but we will check if there are any duplicates. Then subscription type, month revenue, join date, last payment date, country, age, gender, device, and plan duration. One of the first steps you do when you're doing data analysis, you check in if there are any duplicate values and if there are any missing values. So let's check for duplicated values. We say df.duplicated brackets.sum brackets, let's run it 0, which means there are no duplicated values. And let's do the same but check for missing values. So df or name of our data frame dot isNull brackets.sum brackets 0, so no missing values. Now let's analyze our data. There is no rule what order of this analysis should be, it's up to you. I will start with creating different graphs. For example, number of users per country, number of users per age, per gender, device type, and let's see what we have. So my first one will be number of users per country. When we create a visual, first line of code is always to define the figure size. So it's the width and height of our graph. So plt.figure brackets fig size equals 12 by 6. Again, you can change this number to make your visual bigger or smaller. Since I want number of users per country, I need to know how many users there are, or value counts. What we say df square brackets country, or we referencing to the column, dot value counts brackets dot plot, and we say what type of visual we're creating. We will create a bar chart, that's why we say kind equals bar. Color I pick sky blue, again you can change this parameter to the color you would like. Then we need to add title and labels to our visual, so plt.title number of users per country. Our X label will be country, our Y label will be number of users, plt.xticks rotation 45. I prefer to rotate labels of X and Y ticks just so it's more readable, and plt.show to see our graph. And here we are. So our top countries is United States and Spain, then Canada, and looks like Italy is the lowest number of users. In one of my videos, I showed you how to create a loop that goes through different data sets and creating bar charts, and I will repeat it again. So if you want to create, for example, bar chart of number of users per gender, so how many female male users you have, count of users per device, count of users per subscription type. Of course, you can do what we've just done and just, replacing the column you want and then changing titles, changing labels, or you can create a loop that will do it all for you in one go. So first of all, we will create a dictionary of the columns we want. So we will say column titles equals curly brackets. Curly brackets is used as a dictionary in Python. And then we say gender. For gender, we say gender counts. For device, device count. And for subscription type counts. And now we're creating our loop. Our loop will be for column, comma, title in column titles dot items brackets colon. And this part will be very similar to what we've done when we created our previous bar graph. So we say df square brackets column, but here it will be one of these columns. df square brackets column dot value counts brackets dot plot kind bar color sky blue plt.title equals title, x label column, y label count, x6 rotation, plt.show. Basically, instead of you saying what is a column and what is a title again and again, we already created a dictionary. This will be our column, this will be the title for our bar graph. The loop will just go through and replace column and title with the respective values. So let's run it, and it will create you all the bar charts for you. So even when we created this first one, we could have added it here and it would have been one of those bar charts. So you can see gender was our X label and gender count is our title. Let me know if you're interested in loops, because I found them confusing for a very long time, and maybe I can create a separate video where we just talk about Python loops. This is our gender, and looks like the distribution of female and male users is exactly the same, very similar number. Device count looks like smart TV users is slightly smaller to laptop and tablet. And subscription type count, so most of our users on basic, we have a bit less standard, and premium is the lowest number of users we have. Let's create a beautiful map to show distribution of our users by country. First of all, I will create a new variable called user counts by country, which is a unique value count of users for each country. Name of a new variable, which is user counts by country, equals df square brackets in quotes country, because we are referencing the column dot value counts brackets dot reset index. Then we need to say that user counts by country dot columns equals country and user counts. So we're selecting the columns for our visual. Now let's create our map. Actually, we need to import one more library, and this time we will import Plotly. So it looks like in this video I will use all three: Seaborn, Matplotlib, and Plotly. So let's import Plotly Express as px. Let's run this part separately. And now let's create our map. So we say figure equals px.coroplat. That's how those maps are called. Brackets, in the brackets we say user counts by country, so we're referencing to this variable we created. Locations equals country, location mode country names, color user count, a hover name country, title user distribution by country, color continuous scale equals px.colors sequential plasma. Now we will make changes to the layout of our map, otherwise the map looks very small. We will say fig.update layout brackets, width equals 1000, height equals 700. You can adjust the width and height. Title font size equals 24, geo equals a dictionary, show frame false, show coastlines false. To see our visual, we need to say .show, so we say fig.show brackets. So similarly how we've done it here with plt.show, this time we say fig.show brackets. Let's run it. And it created this map. If we hover over, you can see the name of the country and user count. Of course, these numbers should reconcile with the numbers of our number of users per country. So we see that United States and Spain has the biggest number of our users. Actually, the rest of them are almost the same. And let's look at our map again. So United States, Spain is equally the same high number. Canada slightly smaller, and the rest is kind of similar, and that's why it is blue color. Let's create another graph subscription type by country. So it's always plt.figure figure size, and this time we will use a Seaborn, so you can see how Matplotlib, Seaborn, and Plotly work. sns.countryplot brackets x equals country, hue subscription type, data we referencing to our original data frame, so df, comma palette equals set2. You can change this one to pick different color scheme. Our title will be subscription type by country, x6 again I will rotate it, and plt.show to display our graph. And that's what we've got. In United Kingdom, for example, we have most of our users are standard users, and looks like no one is a premium. In Mexico, very similar situation. In Italy, most of the customers are basic customers, and there are a couple of premium and standard. This is a visual we can add, of course, to our presentation of our findings, but I find some of the visuals are harder to pick exactly the right number. For example, with United States premium users, it's 140, but precise number is hard to pick. That's why I always go back to classic tables, because it's easier to pick numbers from the tables. So let's pivot our data, so then we can use the numbers in our final summary report. To pivot our data, first of all, we will create a new variable called subs by country equals df, or name of the original data frame, dot pivot underscore table brackets. In the brackets, we say what is our index. Our index is country. It is our rows. Index is rows. What is our columns? Our columns will be subscription type. What will be our values? A pivot table, user ID. How we will aggregate our function? We want to see count and fill value equals 0. Let's run it. And to see how our pivot looks like, let's run this one. Okay, so now we can see all our countries, it's our subscription types and a number of users. And let's look at US. You see it was 145. So when I said I'm looking at this graph, I'm not sure if it's 140, 147. It was actually 145. For example, if I needed to create a presentation or just even simple email, if my boss asked me to analyze data and then he said just put all together in a long email, I would have created the graph, because this is a way to very easily spot the difference. You can immediately see that United Kingdom has the highest number of standard subscriptions compared to other countries, but at the same time I would use those tables, pivot tables, just to pick the correct numbers to help me write the findings, to write the insights. You know, when you use Excel and you create pivot tables, we usually can add a grand total column. Let's add a total column to our pivot. So if you want to add a column in Python, we say name of the data frame where we want to add our column, then name of the column in square brackets. So we will add a column called total equals, again, name of the data frame dot sum, because we want to get a total, and x is 1. So we want to have a total of our row. And let's again run our subs by country to see how it looks like now. Now we have a total for each of our rows. Let's create another visual which will be gender distribution by country. So again, plt.figure, figure size 12 by 6. We again use Seaborn, so sns.count plot brackets x will be country, hue gender, data df. This time I will use different palette which will be pastel. Then title xticks plt.show. Let's run it. Now we have our gender distribution by country. As we saw, we have equal number of female and male users. Overall, looks like it's the similar trend across all the countries except for Spain. How more female users we have compared to male, we don't know unless we create a pivot table. So similar to what we've done before, let's create a new pivot table which called gender by country. So df or name of the original data frame dot pivot table, brackets, this time index country, columns gender, values user ID. Aggregate function will be count because we want a count of users. Here you can use a sum if you want to have a total, for example, total revenue, fill value 0, and gender by country, so we can visually see how it looks like. That's our pivot table. I will also show you how to add more columns to a pivot or more rows or indexes to your pivot. So previously we did subscription type and then we did pivot for gender, but what we wanted all in one pivot, it is also possible. Okay, this time we will create a new variable called subs by country gender equals name of original data frame df.pivot underscore table brackets. So it will actually looks very similar to what we've just done. So index is the same country, but this time columns will be in square brackets. In square brackets because we are creating a list of different columns. And this time we can indicate two columns, which is subscription type and gender. Values aggregate function fill value is exactly the same as before. Let's run it and also let's print this variable. Okay, and now you can see, so our indexes are again country, exactly the same it was before, but our columns are subscription types and gender. So now we can see, for example, for our basic subscription type, how many female and male, and same for premium and standard. It's up to you what you prefer more, which one is easier for you to read, but you just need to know that there are different options with pivot tables in Python. And the same if you want to add several indexes. So for example, we want to add our gender here in a country, but have only one column subscription type. It is also possible. We will create a new variable called subs by country gender 2. I didn't come up with a better name. This time we will use a list for our rows, for our indexes. So we will say country and gender, while we will keep our columns as just subscription type. Again, we keep value aggregate function and fill value the same as it was above this line of code to display our pivot. Let's run it. And now you can see that each row has female and male, and then subscription types. So it's just a different variation of the same pivot, whatever is more convenient for you. Other visual we haven't created is how many users of different ages we have. Okay, so let's create a visual, as always, starting with selecting figure size, and then column, which is our age.valueCounts.sortIndex.plot. So because we want to sort our ages from smallest to largest. If you don't add that, it will be a random order. So you might have age 35, then 17, 20, etc. Dot plot brackets kind equals bar, because we're creating bar chart, color light blue, edge color black. So this time I will add edge color. I'm trying to show you different visualization types, so you pick the one that you like for your projects. And then we add in title, X label, Y label, and PLT.show to display the visual. And that's our ages, and you can see they're perfectly sorted from smallest to largest, so from 26 to 51. If you're just starting working with Python and you're a bit confused and you need more guidance, I created data analysis with Python Masterclass. It is a self-paced course that has 3 hours of pre-recorded videos. It has 16 home tasks for you to complete, so you can practice the skills you've just learned, and you can ask me any questions via educational platform. It consists of 3 parts. In the first part, we learn everything about Python libraries, Python modules, how to open and save files. In the second part, we talk about pandas library, how to clean and manipulate your file, sort, pivot, group data. In the third part, we talk about visualization library Matplotlib, different types of visualizations, 8 or 9. You can learn when are they used, how to create them, and you can practice all of that with home task. If you're interested, link in the description. So other thing we haven't looked at, let's again print a head of our data set, and I will show you something. So we have the join date and last payment date. And for example, here the person joined in May and last payment date in June. So the person paid, I assume, twice, because this is end of the month, this is the beginning of the month, so person already paid for 2 months. So let's calculate how many months our customers are with us, because we have someone who joined in 21 and still with us 2 years later. So let's calculate this duration. When you work with dates in Python, quite often you need to convert them to date time. So let's do that. So the first one, we will convert our join date to date time. So we say df brackets join date equals pandas or pd dot to date time brackets, and we say what we're converting, our join date, and which format we convert to. We convert in the format day, month, year, always adjusted based on the date format you already have. So for example, if your format starts with year, you need to adjust it to YDM or YMD, depending on what you have. And then we do the same with last payment date. Let's run it. And now we can calculate the duration between join date and last payment date, and let's calculate it in days. When you do it in months, it rounds it. So for example, if you calculate difference here, it might say that the difference between these 2 dates is just 1 month. But as we use our logic, we can see this is end of the month, this is beginning. Person been with us for full 2 months, not 1 month. Because of that, I prefer to calculate date difference in days and then divide it by 30 and just round it. To calculate the difference in dates, we say df and name of a new column which we are creating. We create a new column called duration equals then last payment date minus join date dot dt dot days. Let's run it. And now we need to divide this number of days by 30 and round it. That's why we imported maths module at the beginning of this project. So we created a new column called duration months. So df square brackets duration months equals df duration, the column we just created, dot apply brackets lambda x colon maths.ceil. So ceiling, we are rounding our data and we dividing x by 30. Let's run it. Let's rerun our df head. Okay, so now our data frame has 2 new columns, duration and duration months. So for example, here we have 58 days, which is 2 months. And here we have 18 days, 22, etc. This will allow us to calculate the revenue, because we know that this is monthly revenue, person pays $10. If we multiply a number of months, we can calculate the lifetime value of these customers, how much the person paid for this subscription in all the time this person been with us. So one thing I need to mention about this data set, and this is a problem I've noticed a lot when I worked with subscription businesses. Quite often they replace the data, so they don't keep historical records. And what I mean, for example, I'm this user ID 1. My subscription type is basic. My duration months 18 months. So I joined 18 months ago. Potentially I've been on a premium subscription before. I've been on a standard subscription before, but currently I am on basic. And I've seen it with some of my clients who've done the same. They replace your subscription type or your current price as of today, but they don't have historical data. And then if data analyst tries to calculate the revenue and then compares that revenue to accounting, it doesn't match, because of course in accounting it shows, okay, this month we've been on premium, we paid $15. Then next month it was completely paused. Maybe I actually stopped for several months. Then I came back on a standard. Now I'm on a basic. That's all in accounting system will be one number. But if you do what we've just done, where we will multiply 18 by 10, the number will be different. So if you work with clients who have subscription business, tell them that they need to keep historical records for their data analysts, just to make the life easier, please. If you want to calculate average duration for all the customers, let's say we have one person 18 months, one person 2 months, let's calculate this average duration. We will create a new variable called average duration equals df square brackets duration months dot mean. That's our average, and to display it we will print the data. So print brackets, we will use f-string, and then in quotes we say average duration quotes, and then in curly brackets we are referencing our average duration. That's why we use f-string here. Okay, so our average duration is almost 11 months. And now let's calculate the revenue I've been talking about. So we will create a new column called LTV. So df square brackets LTV or lifetime value equals df monthly revenue multiplied by duration of months. So we will just multiply this monthly revenue by how many months the customer have been with us. And let's again go back and rerun our df head. Now we have this new column, and of course, yeah, so 18 months multiplied by 10, 22 months multiplied by 15. And as I said, if you compare these numbers to the accounting record, you might have discrepancies, because if the person been changing subscription types and it's not captured in this specific data set, that will cause the difference. Let's see total and average LTV per country. So we will create a visual to see what is our total revenue for each country and what is the average revenue for each country. Let's create a new variable LTV per country sum. So it will be total LTV per country, name of the data frame df dot group by, we grouping by country, what we grouping by LTV dot sum, because we want total, sort values ascending false. And again, for visualization, we start with picking a figure. Then this is a name of our variable, dot plot, what we plotting, we creating bar chart, color sky blue, and then title, label, X label, Y label, ticks, and plt dot show. It was an average, it is a total LTV. Let's change our Y label. Okay, so LTV per country, this is our LTV, this is country, and we can see that again, United States, Spain, the countries where we have most number of customers have the highest revenue, almost 60,000. And let's do the same, but this time we will look at the average revenue per country. LTV per country equals df.group by country LTV, but this time instead of a sum we say dot mean brackets, and the rest is exactly the same, but our title and label says average instead of sum. Let's run it. Okay, and this is more interesting. So we can see that actually France has the highest average LTV. And then we have United Kingdom, Australia, while United States doesn't have such high LTV. And let's go back here and understand why it happened, because in the United States most of our customers are basic customers, then we have premium and standard, while if we look at France, most of our customers are premium. We don't have any standard customers, and very little number is basic. So that's some business insight for you, so you can see that in one country you will have a lot of customers, but they actually on average generate less revenue than other country where it pays premium. And this is a good insight. For example, if you were paid to create this report for someone to do data analytics, I think it is a very valuable insight. Another visual we will create is a revenue per device, which we haven't done before. So we'll create a new variable called revenue by device, df.group by device in square brackets LTV.sum, and then we create a visual like we've done before many times. I actually changed color to purple so you can see again different things. And also let's look at gender distribution by device, something we haven't done before. So plt.figure, again we start with selecting figure size, and then we will use Seaborn, so sns.countplot, x will be device, hue gender, data df. So let's print it, and now we can also see distribution of our genders by device. Alright, and if I needed to write a summary report after all these graphs, whether it was some insights report or just a long email, how I would have approached it. If you want to use this project for your portfolio project, I always say use descriptive names. So don't say data analysis with Python, that's not descriptive enough. You can call it, for example, Netflix user-based analysis summary report. And then you can say with Python if you want to for your portfolio project, but you don't need to, because further you can say I used Python to analyze data. So then you say what was the goal of all your analysis. Let's say the goal of this analysis is to understand the demographic and usage patterns of Netflix users, calculate key metrics such as lifetime value, and provide insights based on various attributes such as age, country, device usage, and subscription types. Then we can list all the columns we have, so we can say the dataset contains the following columns, and then you just say a list of all the columns like user ID, subscription type, monthly revenue, and you say, for example, user ID, unique identifier for each user, subscription type, the type of subscription plan, basic, standard, premium. I will put it into Notion, this summary report, and I will add it as a link to this video, so don't worry, you don't need to stop and write down all of this. Then we can say metric and analysis, and you can start adding your graphs and say, for example, number of users per country. You can say for each country one by one. You can add a table that shows how many users, or you can use top 5 countries. You always need to finish with recommendations. So again, whether it's email in your company, if it's a presentation to your customer, or if it is your data analytics portfolio project, you always finish with the next steps or recommendations. For example, targeted marketing campaigns. So focus on countries with the highest LTV, such as the United States and Spain, for premium content and promotion. Then we can say that we've seen that average LTV is much higher in France, so it's another market we should pay attention to, create some special marketing campaigns to acquire more customers in France. And the future analysis, of course, we had only this data set, but the companies, they usually have their marketing data set, so you can analyze how much acquisition costs for each of your customers. So again, we can say, is it more expensive to acquire customers in France compared to US? So this is something you can add at the end of your portfolio, at the end of your analysis. It's just suggestion and the following steps. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, you learned something new. This time we used 3 different visualization libraries, and we created a map, which I haven't done before in my videos, so you can use that again for building your portfolio. The previous data analytics video, which is coffee shop sales, has the highest views. That's why, based on the numbers, I can see that you really enjoyed this video, and that's why I decided to create this one. I hope you enjoyed this one too. Give me some other content ideas, let me know what you are interested in. If you made so far and you enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe. It means a lot to me, and I hope to see you next time.